Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ruben Uncut. Today, it's time to talk about Trump propaganda, of course. Ah, let's get into it. Yes, welcome. Like I was saying, welcome back to Ruben Uncut. So some pretty unhinged stuff's been going on with Donald Trump. I'm going to check some of it out. Let's take a look here.
President Trump, are you looking to buy or lease today?
Well, I'm going to buy, and I'm going to buy because, number one, it's a great product, as good as it gets, and
Okay, so here we go. Donald Trump buying a Tesla, which makes sense because Tesla is currently tanking. People are not happy with Tesla, and Elon has essentially sabotaged his own brand. In fact, he's been sabotaging his own brand for at least 4 to 6 years. So, it's honestly still amazing that shareholders have not removed him, if I'm keeping it real. Maybe he's the number one. Wait, is he the number one shareholder of his company? That would explain some things.
number two, because this man has devoted his energy and his life to doing this, and I think he's been treated very unfairly by a very small group of people. And I just want people to know that you can't be penalized for being a patriot, and he's a great patriot. And he's also done an incredible job with Tesla, and I mean, nobody else has a car company started up in the last 30 years that's been successful. I don't think so. And not only...
Wow, that's an impressive... Well, first of all, there probably are car companies that started up in the last 30 years, but they probably aren't from America. This is just a clear understanding of the fact that Donald Trump doesn't understand how markets work. Tesla was able to achieve breaking into the new market because it was technically a new market. There were no other major companies producing a mainstream electric car. This was what they call a blue ocean market, so to speak. So Elon Musk actually had every advantage because he had no real competitors. Now, technically, he did have to compete with regular car sales, but he knew how to market electric cars so to get all the nerds in Silicon Valley on his side. But of course, Trump doesn't actually understand markets, so that's just the thing.
Not only successful, but super successful, and because he's able to find billions and billions and billions of dollars of fraud and waste and all of the things. I mean, our country is going to be very strong very soon because of...
They actually haven't proven the waste or fraud yet. For starters, I have to assume that they've only begun the investigation into those supposedly over 100-year-old Social Security people. An explanation has already been made for this, by the way, which is that those dates are in the computer because they didn't have an original birth year for those people. And it was just a default setting to get onto the paperwork. Anyone who's ever done paperwork knows that these types of things happen relatively commonly. The reality of the matter is, though, is this should be fairly easy to prove, because if those people don't exist, then we shouldn't be able to contact them. I would assume that in an ongoing investigation, they would have started contacting these people, maybe.
A lot of the things that he's done.
After all, they should be trackable. We've got their fucking social security numbers, people. Like, if these people are alive or dead, we should be able to verify it. So, but they haven't said anything about whether or not they've even attempted to verify.
And then a lot of the things that I'm doing. And there's no better team, but there's no better for what we're doing. There's nobody like this, and he shouldn't be penalized. And when I watched the other day, I said...
He's not being penalized. Penalized would imply that there is some systematic element that is punishing him for his behavior. What is punishing for the behavior is the market. See, any capitalist will turn on capitalism the second capitalism is no longer helping them win.
I can't believe it. It should be the opposite. People should be going wild, and they love the product, but...
Trump fundamentally is not telling you the truth about how markets work here. It's phenomenal.
Because he's finding all sorts of terrible things that have taken place against our country, they want to penalize him in an economic sense, and I just think that's very...
You as an individual have the right to decide what products you want to buy. Because that's who he's attacking right now. You, as the individual who's not buying a Tesla. Do you have a Tesla? Because if you don't have a Tesla, he's talking to everyone who doesn't have a Tesla. He's literally attacking the consumer base, which is fucking wild. Like, that's fucking wild. Yes, people are unhappy with Elon Musk's behavior, so they're not going to buy his products. That's, capitalism. That's how capitalism's always worked. Like, pretty wild.
Very unfair. So I just wanted to make a statement.
Capitalism is definitionally unfair. Nothing Donald Trump has ever done in his entire career in capitalism has been fair. Donald Trump once used eminent domain laws to kick an old lady out of her house because it was in the way of his construction. Donald Trump does not give a fuck about fair.
I'm going to buy one. Now, here's the bad news. I'm not allowed to drive because I haven't driven a car in a long time, and I love to drive cars, but I'm going to have it at the White House. And
I don't know if I've ever seen or heard of Donald Trump being in a vehicle that he was driving.
I'm going to let my staff use it. I'm going to let people at the place use it. And they all are all excited about that. I'm not allowed to use it. Can you believe it?
Because Donald Trump has probably never had a driver's license. His entire life, he has been driven around by drivers.
One of my great things in life is that I can, I like to drive cars, but I'm not allowed to. And I will say this one, the Cybertruck, I bought for a very special young woman. Do you know? I'm sure you've never heard of her, Kai. And she's a great golfer, and she puts the clubs in the back, and I guess it's a very safe deal. She loves it.
Just for context, have you seen that video where a bunch of truck guys comparing Ford F-150 with a Tesla truck through a series of physical tests? And they essentially just eventually completely destroy the Tesla. And yeah, it's pretty hilarious. The only thing the Tesla beat the Ford F-150 on was the attaching plastic explosives to the outer shell test. That was the only one it passed better than the F-150. Turns out you can stick C4 to the side of a Tesla truck and it will survive. However, this is kind of undermined by the fact that you can pull most of the car apart with your bare hands because it's the metal plating that's technically bomb-proof. The vehicle itself is actually cheaply put together and poorly designed.
And I actually bought one about a year ago, and she loves it. And it's very safe, it's very strong, heavy. It's all steel, stainless steel. But the cars themselves, so what is this one, Elon?
That's the Model Y.
That's a Model Y, so I have a lot of information, including the price.
Yeah.
I want to make a good deal here. I do notice this.
Literal car commercial. The sitting president of the United States is doing a literal car commercial for his little Mussolini buddy.
They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low. What is that all about?
Yeah, it's, I guess we want to make the point that Teslas aren't all expensive. You can get a Tesla for as little as $35,000.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank the president for his support. This means a lot. And also thank
as soon as I can get to use Tesla for less than $1,000, I'll do it.
everyone out there who is supporting Tesla. It's really terrible that there's so much violence being perpetrated against people like Tesla supporters, Tesla owners.
Any vandalism is a direct result of you doing the fucking Nazi salute, man. Did you think people were going to be okay with that? Did you think people were going to be okay with that? Jesus Christ. It's the most Nazi salute I've ever seen that wasn't coming off an actual Nazi. Oh, no, it's a Roman salute. Yeah, that's what the Nazis called it.
Tesla stores. These are innocent people who've done nothing wrong. So
I would say, I don't know if any of that's true, but if you have hurt to a guy who's just a Tesla employee at a store, that fucking sucks. You shouldn't hurt his employees. Self-defense is always acceptable, but you shouldn't actually do anything that would hurt any living human. And however, I, as a public figure, would never tell you to burn them down to the ground when there's no one in there. That would be highly questionable of me and wildly irresponsible for me to suggest that the best time to vandalize a Tesla building of any kind is when there are no actual human beings inside of it. We like to have fun here because on my channel, comedy's legal.
But nobody's been, I mean, it hasn't been, there's been some physical damage, a little damage, and we want to keep it that way because I don't want to say this, it's just not the appropriate, but law enforcement's out there watching everybody. We don't want this to happen. And not to somebody that's been so good to our country. He didn't have to do this. He didn't have to go through this.
He also didn't have to buy Twitter. He didn't have to do a Nazi salute at your inauguration. He doesn't have to keep sharing Holocaust-denying propaganda on X. There, you happy, Elon? I called your Nazi propaganda spreading website X. He didn't have to disown his trans daughter. He didn't have to use IVF to make sure he only had male boys. Yeah. There's a lot of things that Elon Musk doesn't have to do, but it never stops him from doing them. He didn't have to name one of his children just a series of letters.
And we can't let it happen. And aside from that, I happen to love the product. It's a lot nicer if you also happen to love the product, and he's done a really good job. Go ahead, Peter.
Is there, I guess this is for Elon Musk, is there a discount? President Trump wrote the art of the deal. Is there any kind of room for negotiating here?
Let me answer that. I know he'd give me a discount, but honestly, I don't want to ask for one. You know, I'm president, so I want to pay full price.
Somebody get on the horn. Find out if he paid with taxpayer money or his own money. Side note, a lot of people make a big deal about Donald Trump giving back his paycheck. Donald Trump gives back his own paycheck, and second of all, his taxes indicate that he only gives back about 40% of his presidential salary. Doesn't really matter, because the reality is that Donald Trump is pulling a George Washington. What's a George Washington, you might say? Well, George Washington, when he was in charge of the Port Authority before the Revolutionary War, came up with the idea of instead of them, paying him a salary, he would be like, no, just give me an expense account. I would never ask you to pay me a salary. George Washington spent the equivalent of roughly $4 billion in our dollars. Now, to be fair, that's only like 500,000 or something back then. But yeah, no, he spent way more than he would have ever been paid in salary. And George Washington even then tried to do this again when he got the job as president. But Congress had heard about the Port Authority thing, and they were like, no, you're taking that paycheck. Donald Trump has spent over $10 billion federal dollars to golf at his own fucking resort. He paid himself with taxpayer money to use a resort he owns.
What is your message, President Trump? Buying a new car while there are some folks who will see this clip at home and they are struggling with their retirement accounts down at the moment, uncertainty about work ahead.
Well, I think they're going to do great. I think our country had to do this. We had to go and do this. They've taken away, other countries have taken away our business. They've taken away our jobs. I did it initially very strongly against, as you know, China and some others. In the first term, and it was a very successful term. We had no inflation. We had
no inflation, but he had to bail out farmers with over $1 billion of government spending. And also, because of these tariffs, China has started buying up literal farmland in America so they can keep selling us food and getting our money without having to pay those tariffs. Oh, tariffs work so great, guys. They work so great. Oh, we're doing so good.
Greatest economy in the history of our country. And then we had COVID, which we had to straighten out. So I didn't want to be doing anything with respect to other countries at that time. And we did a great job with it. We handed the stock market over. It was higher than it ever was. And think of that, higher than it ever was to that point before. And nobody thought that.
I don't know if that's true. I would need to look that up to make sure that was true, but I also don't care. The reality is you have to understand this. Donald Trump just pulls numbers out of his ass all the time. Okay, so I watched The Apprentice, not the TV show, but the movie, the biopic for Donald Trump and Roy Cohn the other night. And I can't vouch for how accurate the movie is, but It lines up pretty well with everything Donald Trump does. Donald Trump is a guy he is a salesman. He is here to sell you on his ideas. And he does that by delivering on unreasonable claims.
That was even possible. We did a great job, but we had the greatest economy in history. This economy, in my opinion, is going to blow it away. But what I have to do is I have to get the workers back. I have to get the factories.
He's doing so many things at once and all of them could potentially cause problems in the economy. For starters, he's firing way too many federal employees at the same time. That's a lot of unemployed people becoming unemployed rapidly. Not only that, but now technically speaking, those are really all really highly qualified former federal employees, which means that they will probably get jobs in the public sector. However, what that also means is they will also replace less experienced, less qualified people in the private sector, which means that there will be people in the private sector who are just pushed out of jobs. This also means that we're going to be looking at the fact that a lot of these people will not necessarily get jobs right away. We're looking at a lot of unemployed people all at the same time. On top of that, doing the tariffs, which is going to negatively impact, which is going to cause prices to rise on most goods. And I live in Ohio. I shouldn't say that on the internet. It's too late. Most people have figured it out anyways. But in my state, we get 22% of our imports from Canada. 22% of all products sold in Ohio are imports from Canada. Our shit is about to be unhinged.
Factories open. We have 90,000 factories and plants are closed from what you had just prior to NAFTA, which is not very long ago.
And then also tax cuts for the rich. And it's just too many things at once. And he's not offsetting any of these things. You understand that this man literally went bankrupt because he tried to buy too many casinos too fast. That's what happened. Oh, my God.
90,000, think of it. 90,000 factories and plants are closed from what it was. And it's just not right. So, and we gave it away. Presidents before me gave it away. And I could name every one of them. But they gave it away. And
it's always another president's fault. He is ready to slander all former presidents. And yes, I know I did just sort of take a shot at George Washington. Side note, George Washington still did a lot of good shit for our country, but, he was kind of a scam artist. There was no cherry tree, just so you know. That was made up for politics.
Taking it back. We're taking our jobs back. And one of the things I'll say, by the way, speaking of Tesla, he manufactures more cars. I mean, he opened this incredible plant, one of the largest plants in the world, in Texas. Could you talk about that, Elon?
Yeah, it's worth noting that the Tesla cars have the most U.S. content of any cars on the market, so they're the most American-made. We have the biggest factory and the most advanced automotive factory in Texas that we've opened and continue to expand. And so this is very much these are great products. A Model S is one best car ever. So they've all these.
Best car ever does not sound like a real award. I would believe best car of the year, potentially. I don't know much about that car specifically, but the point is that best car ever sounds like Elon Musk is starting to take on some of Trump's bullshit hyperbole.
Cars won incredible awards. So they're great cars and they're American.
Which makes sense because he's Elon's a sociopath.
Made. And I think, try it. You'll like it.
And I'm just saying, beyond the cars, they're great. But we have to celebrate somebody that has the courage to do this. He could have said, I'm not doing anything. I'm not going to get involved. Let the country.
Everything about the world would be so much better if Elon Musk never got involved. If Elon Musk had just kept making electric cars and being a secret fascist, maybe the world would be a better place. But no, instead, Elon Musk was like, I'm getting fucking involved. And you know what? Elon Musk is getting involved is a lot like Hitler getting involved. At the end of the day, we all wish Hitler just stayed home.
We go to hell. He didn't want to do that. And remember, he's going to find, and we're up to almost $500 billion worth of waste and fraud and abuse. $500 billion.
They have not proven any fraud. They have not quantified waste, and they haven't proven any abuse. Now, you could say that maybe they have enough to start investigating those things, but in all honesty, most of this is just due to the fact that the American people do not understand spending or budgets or how our economy works. I don't know. It's fucked.
We give him $2 billion here, $2 billion there, not millions. It was a bet. If it was $1 million or $2 million, that's a lot of money. But we're talking about billions of dollars being given to defunct, scams.
First of all, they have not proven they're scams. Just because you don't like the way money is being spent does not inherently make a thing a scam. That is not how arguments work. That's not how reality works. Just because you don't like a project doesn't mean the project is fake or fraudulent in some way. Absolute horseshit.
Given to people with nothing. They have nothing going. They open up a subchapter S corporation and they put $2 billion into it from nowhere. And we've caught a lot of them. I wish we could catch all of them, but we've caught a lot of them. And he's been largely responsible. So we have to...
You have to say we haven't caught all of them, because then that justifies always having more enemies in the future that you can punish. Because you're going to need people who take the fall for these things as long as you're making these claims.
Celebrate him. And it's not that he's conservative. I don't even know if he's conservative. I will tell you this.
These days
I've been doing this for... I've known him for a pretty long time. He endorsed me. I didn't know him that well when he endorsed me. But...
Who is doing this camera work? Like, we were straight up just looking at Trump's chest there for like a few minutes.
And Tesla's a great company. I don't like what's happening. It's, from our standpoint, American cars, American made. He employs thousands of people. He's got, at the same time, he has the most modern plants in the world. I said, I don't like what's happening to you. I'm going to do it. I didn't even know he was going to.
It's very possible that Donald Trump doesn't know any of this. He's the type of person who would just say this stuff and ballpark it, so to speak.
He's never asked me for anything. He endorsed me, and he never asked me. I didn't even know he was going to endorse me. The guy...
Whether or not that's true is irrelevant. It's what Donald Trump wants you to believe is true. For all we know, Elon could have asked for anything. Donald Trump would never say that.
He has never asked me. He's not saying... In fact, I could go a step further. I ended the electric mandate. Okay? I ended the electric mandate. And I figured, when's this...
In fairness, Elon would have made money off of the electric. It's not a real mandate, but that's besides the point.
Guy calling to raise hell with me, and he never called. I mean, he never called me. If I were him, I would have called.
So on that,
because he's probably even better than I am.
Mr. President, is Elon Musk rubbing off on you? Is electric then the way to go?
It's not that I'm not. This isn't for electric or gas, because people have their choices.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I know people that have these cars. I know one man. We see him all the time. Yeah. He's
Judging by Donald Trump's various deregulations from his past administration, one has to assume that someone in oil is pulling some of his chains.
He has 5 of them.
Yeah.
He thinks it's a great... And he was a big guy for Ferraris and other things. And he says, man, it blows him away. I know other people, they have 3, 4, they love them. They love them. And some people like the gasoline, and they should have their options. Right. I'm all about options. But I'm telling you, I ended the electric mandate, and I was waiting for a call. I said, did Elon call yet? They said, no, sir. The next day, what about Elon? Did he call?
None of this is true. None of the anecdote he's telling right now is a bit. He's just saying it because he knows it sounds good.
He never even mentioned it to me, never complained. Until this moment, I'm just bringing it up. Who would do that? Yeah. He has never asked me for a thing. And he's built this great company, and he shouldn't be penalized because he's a patriot. He's an incredible patriot. And I don't even know if he's a Republican. I really don't.
Yes, sir. Yes, definitely.
The stock market dropped today.
Well, I'm not sure if he was. Well, you're going to have
stock is also
drops, and markets are going to go up, and they're going to go down.
Yeah.
But you know what? We have to rebuild our country. Our country has been stripped of its jobs, of its factories. And I'm tired of seeing where they build apartments, cheap apartments, and they're all broken down. Tired of seeing
Donald Trump doesn't understand how industrialism scales. That's actually what's occurring right now. Donald Trump is he doesn't understand how factories scale, and the way we have different types of factories here in America versus the factories that are overseas is due to the fact that we manufacture different kinds of things. We build the big things here in America, but we make them from parts that are made everywhere else. At least that's how a lot of things work, specifically things like cars. In fairness, it is not uncommon for there have always been like Asian manufacturing plants in America. That's not new, just so everyone knows. Like most Japanese cars are made here in America because it's cheaper than shipping whole ass cars across the ocean.
Where they build apartments, cheap apartments in an old broken down factory. But you have factories all over the place that are empty from many decades ago. And we're going to change it around. And it's all taxing policy. You know, it's really a policy because we have great workers, great people. It's really a policy of taxing and incentives. And I'm bringing the incentives back. And I'll tell you what, numerous plants, and I don't want to mention specifically, but I'll mention this one. Numerous plants in Mexico and other places that were under construction or soon to be under construction are now coming here, and they've dropped that.
I really don't want to bother debunking all this, but like some of it, like one of those factories actually is based off of a deal that occurred under George W. Bush. Like people don't really understand how long some of this shit takes to happen.
Because it was unfair what was happening. Mexico, they were building cars. They were selling them into the United States with no tax, no nothing. And in the United States, we were allowing them to take our jobs and take our factories. And we don't do that anymore. Now, from a president, it would be a lot easier.
The reason there's no tax on it is because you don't want to necessarily, and first of all, I doubt that there's no tax. Like it's taxed at some point in the line. But the fact of the matter is that there are parts that are shipped across the border back and forth as they are assembled. Tax or tariff those things, it's going to create insane prices for vehicles.
Easier if I just coasted for another 4 years. I would have been an 8-year president. I had the best economy in history in my first 4 years. I would have done very well with this one. And I had a decision to make. Do I want to do this or do I not? Do I want to do it right? The right thing to do is what we're doing. We're going to get our jobs back, and we're not going to be laughed at. Now, I will say this, that
this concept that we're being laughed at is strange, you know, like because technically, like, yes, there are always going to be people laughing at your country. We laugh at other countries all the time. Like, the fixation on it is strange. Donald Trump has for a long time displayed the fact that he seems to believe that America is not respected. And that's very interesting because one has to wonder what that means. What does it mean that another country respects another country? Because by and large, most countries do. And in fact, America for decades has been swinging its big dick around internationally pretty wildly. We are the number one contributors to all the international communities, which gives us voting power in them. Things like IMF, the World Bank, NATO. America has only consolidated respect and wealth around the world with these things. But one has to wonder, where did Donald Trump get the idea that other countries don't respect us? In fact, arguably, for a lot, we don't normally have as much conflict as we have now with other countries until this moment. Conflict with other countries has actually gone up under Trump. We have literally almost never had problems with Canada.
Already Canada, and I respect very much. As you know, there's a very strong man in Canada who said he was going to charge a surcharge or a tariff on electricity coming into our country. He has called and he said he's not going to do that. Okay, he's not going to do that. And it would have been a very bad thing if he did. And he's not going to do that, so I respect.
It's totally possible that's not true at all. He might have called, but I would not expect Trump to represent this call honestly, even if it happened.
But we were just informed that he's not going to do that. Look, we've been treated.
Look, okay, so you need to understand this about Donald Trump. And my understanding is that this is in the book, The Art of the Deal. But the thing about Donald Trump is that he lives by 3 rules. And those rules are attack, 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 always be on the offensive. You always need to be pushing against other people and other things. You need to be operating fast and in their face. The second rule is deny, deny, deny. Never admit to anything. Roy Cohn taught him this shit, okay? Donald Trump is not here to be honest with you. People call him a straight shooter, but that's not actually an accurate representation of what Donald Trump is doing. What he does is he moves quickly and with aggression. It's not really being a straight shooter. It's just that sometimes he says crazy racist shit out loud that makes people go, hey, I was thinking that too, and I was afraid to say it. That must be a common sentiment. Although it's not. You're racist or homophobic or transphobic or something. The point is, not everyone agrees with you, and Donald Trump should have shut his fucking mouth about it instead of talking shit about whatever he was talking shit about. But the point is rule number 3 is always declare victory. Even if you're totally fucked. You need to understand this. Donald Trump is the guy who denied that the meteor is coming to strike the planet until it is literally smashing the White House itself. These are the core values that Donald Trump believes in. He does not care what the truth is. He does not care what reality is. And he probably does not believe in God. And if he does, it's hard to say what he thinks God is.
Very unfairly by Canada. We've been treated very unfairly by Mexico. But we've been treated very unfairly by every country all over the world. The European Union is horrible, horrible. And
everyone he just mentioned are our long-standing allies. These are the countries that we have the most favorable trade with in the world. These are the countries we have the most favorable military alliances with in the world. He is deliberately calling out the people we have the most invested strength with. It's fucking wild. Do you know how many countries in the world that we are not on as good of terms with? And he doesn't talk about those countries at all. It's crazy.
we're going to get it back. And I have a choice. I could just coast, and eventually there'd be a blow-up down the road, maybe a long way. But we owe $36 trillion, and we're going to get it back. We're the biggest.
We're not. Trump's concepts don't make sense together. He's wildly cutting taxes. He wants to cut more taxes. He wants to try and replace that revenue with tariffs, which, by the way, won't work. Because that's the thing. Tariffs cannot replace the taxes because that would imply that we are still importing a lot. However, if the tariffs slow down import trade, that means that incoming revenue would go down. And if we're not taxing our own industries, they would go up. But what that means is that the steady income for the government is going to continue to decrease, and we're going to go broker. Nothing he's doing is going to lower debt. It's crazy.
We're the best, and I'm very optimistic. I have to tell you, I'm very optimistic about the country. Much more optimistic this way than if I did it the easy way. Yeah. I could have done it the easy way. I could have coasted. Biden left us a mess. He left us tremendous inflation, tremendously high costs of products. He left us a mess, but he also left us a...
Attack, attack, attack. Always be reminding the people that you want, that the other guy is the bad guy. Attack, attack, attack.
With millions of people that poured into our country that are criminals. Millions of those people happen to be criminals. And we're looking for them all over the place. We're looking for them. And Homan and Christie are doing an incredible job. But he left us a horrible situation. and we're changing it. But one of the things we're changing is we're going to make our country really wealthy again. We're going to bring our jobs back. Right now, we're like a chicken that's being plucked at from all over the world. We're not going to let that happen anymore.
Mr. President,
But very importantly, and I said it, Ukraine, ceasefire. Ukraine, ceasefire. Just agreed to a little while ago. Now we have to go to Russia and hopefully President Putin will agree to that also. And we can.
I have no idea if that's true. Like, you have to understand, Trump will declare victory. He's declaring victory right now. He does not care what the truth is. He wants you to, it's all about the perception.
We get this show on the road. We can get this horrible war where 2,000-3,000 soldiers a week, every week, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 sometimes. I get the reports. And they're not American soldiers. They're Ukrainian and they're Russian. But people are being killed outside of that. People are being killed in the cities as things explode throughout the cities. And we want to get that war over with. So I think it's a big difference between the last visit you saw at the Oval Office and this. So that's a total ceasefire. Ukraine has agreed to it, and hopefully Russia will agree to it. We're going to meet with them later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. But I think the ceasefire is very important. If we can get Russia to do it, that'll be great. If we can't, we just keep going on and people are going to get killed. Lots of people.
Is Zelensky invited back to the White House?
Sure, absolutely.
Mr. President, you mentioned the ups and downs in the stock market. You said it'll go up, it'll go down. But do you and your tariff policies right now bear any responsibility for the turmoil we're seeing this week?
Biden gave us a horrible economy. He gave us horrible inflation.
Trump's answer here doesn't even make sense. It was obviously the tariffs that caused the turmoil, and his own behavior reveals this, because every time the stock market crashed, he delayed the tariffs a little bit more. That implies that he, on some level, thinks it's affecting the stock market. Otherwise, he wouldn't delay it.
And I think the market was going to go very, very bad. If anything, I have a lot of very smart people, friends of mine and great businessmen. They're now investing because of what I'm doing. Because long term, what I'm doing.
That is actually probably true, because corporations are going to invest differently if they know this shit is about to go down. Not everyone gets destroyed by the Depression, people.
Is making our country strong again, financially strong, militarily strong, and strong if we want to get away. Remember this, we have wars. When I left, we had no wars. We didn't have Ukraine and Russia. We didn't.
Meaningless argument. To even suggest that his presidency is the reason that there wasn't a war has nothing to do with the outside factors. That's not how you calculate something. And it's not an endorsement of his policies inherently. You would have to draw a clear line from something he did to peace, and it doesn't exist. Hell, North Korea fucking started working harder on nuclear weapons after he visited them. They worked harder on it.
We didn't have October 7th. We didn't have that disaster that took place with the withdrawal from Afghanistan. And you look at what's happened there. We caught the major terrorist, which Biden wouldn't have caught. Why didn't he catch him? I caught him 5 weeks into the presidency. I caught the man responsible for Abigail, and he's going to pay hell right now. He's a bad dude. He's a bad guy. But we didn't have the.
Donald Trump probably had very little to do with that actual, acquisition. That's like saying that Obama shot Osama bin Laden because he was in the room watching the Navy SEALs do it, but via satellite.
These problems. I had no inflation. I had a great economy. He gave you high prices. You couldn't buy bacon. You couldn't buy anything. And also, I inherited.
Biden did not cause inflation. Inflation happened literally globally. To blame Biden specifically for inflation is to drink the Kool-Aid.
A situation with eggs. The price of eggs was through the roof. Well, now the price of eggs is.
The price of eggs has not gone down. And also the price of eggs is because of avian bird flu. It is not inherently Biden or Trump's fault, although Trump's decision to have the CDC not monitor it is fucking insane.
Come down a lot. Interest rates have come down. Gasoline prices have come down. It's all coming down. It's all a beautiful thing. I can do it the right way.
I have not noticed this. I don't speak for everyone, but I have not noticed a significant difference in the prices of any of these things in my near vicinity.
We're doing it the right way. And I have tremendous confidence in this country and the people of this country. Tremendous confidence, much more so than if I sat back for 4 years and had a good time in the Oval Office. I want to look at cars.
Mr. President, I have an announcement to make that would be helpful. I want to say, as a function of the great policies of President Trump and his administration, and as an act of faith in America, Tesla is going to double vehicle output in the United States within the next 2 years.
That's
double.
a big deal. That's good. Thank you. And by the way, he makes one car. This one I don't understand. This one I don't want, but that's okay. Without a steering wheel. It comes out next year, right?
Yes.
Explain that, please.
Yes. Well, the Cybercab starts production in Texas next year, and it's self-driving. We have so much confidence in the self-driving nature of it that it'll actually not have a steering wheel. It will not have pedals. It'll either self-drive or not drive at all, but it'll self-drive.
President Trump,
And I'm going to pass on that particular.
before this event today, when's the last time you bought a new car?
Wow. Well, I buy a lot for through my children because they run the company now. I used to buy a lot. I haven't bought a new car in a long time.
What was your first car?
The only thing I know is the Beast. I got a...
Guys, Donald Trump doesn't have a car story. Donald Trump doesn't drive. Donald Trump has probably never driven. He lived in New York and he had personal drivers because his father was fucking rich.
Big car with very thick windows and thick side panels.
Is that going electric? Is going electric?
We buy a lot of cars. Actually, I bought this one for Kai.
Do you remember your first car?
The Ontario Premier calling you and giving you his decision about the electricity surcharge, and you said you were pleased about that. Will you make a different decision now about the tariffs on Canada? Will you reduce it?
At that, but probably so. Yeah, he was a gentleman. He was a gentleman. Look, I said it.
Okay, from the sound of it, the reporter has actually confirmed that Canada has at least, it sounds like the Canada phone call has been confirmed. That's the thing you need. You need another source to verify the shit that Trump says. That's the thing.
Before, we give Canada $200 billion a year. We subsidize Canada between all of the things we give them and trade. We don't have to have cars made in Canada. We don't have to have lumber from Canada. We have tremendous lumber.
First of all, it's car companies who make that decision to make cars in Canada. In Canada, there's a reason we get lumber from Canada. Canada has a lot of forest that nobody lives in. I mean, I don't know what it's comparable to ours, but like when you think about how much of Canada, how big Canada is and how much of Canada is actually lived in, probably a lot.
We have tremendous trees. All I have to do is unfreeze them from some of the restrictions that were put on. I can do that with an executive order. We don't need energy. We have more energy than anybody else in the world. So we spend $200 billion.
Kiss the environment goodbye. I wonder which of our national parks will be sold for lumber first.
A year subsidizing Canada. We don't have to do that. And frankly, the way that gets solved is Canada should honestly become our 51st state. We wouldn't have a northern border problem. We wouldn't have a tariff problem. They don't have much. They spend very little, as you know, the least of almost anybody on military. And we spend the most of anybody on military. We have a great military. I rebuilt the military during my first time. We're going to have to
It's wild when Trump says things that we chose to do as if they were put upon us. America chose to have the largest military in the world. That was a choice. Okay? I don't know what you're talking about. But make Canada the 51st state. Wow. First of all, dumb idea. Actually, just wild idea. Borderline insane. But you know what? I'm not opposed to it. Providing we get their health care. The thing about Canada, if they actually became the 51st state, is that they would automatically get the most votes in the Electoral College of any state. No, seriously, Canada has 10 million more people in it than California. They would be the most populous state. Canada's vote would decide the president. Canada would officially be the most important swing state if it swung at all. Because they're going to vote more towards a social democracy. Because they are more of a social democracy. So you know what? Fuck it. Canada, if you're down, I'm down. Make America Canada again. I mean, you know, the other thing.
Rebuild it a little bit again, not that much, but we're going to have to rebuild it a little bit again. But Canada would be great as our cherished 51st state. You wouldn't have to worry about borders. You wouldn't have to worry about anything. And by the way, Canada is very highly taxed, and we're very low tax. We're considered a low tax nation because of me, because I cut the taxes so low. So
we were considered a low tax nation before Trump. We have been identified as a low tax nation for at least 30 or 40 years.
So the people of Canada would pay much less tax. It makes a lot of sense. And by the way, when you take away that artificial line that looks like it was done with a ruler, and that's what it was. Some guy sat there years ago and they said, "Marah." Well, when
it's not how maps are made.
You take away that and you look at that beautiful formation of Canada and the United States, there is no...
It would still have a border. States have borders. They're just open. Like Ohio has borders with Pennsylvania, and Pennsylvania has borders with New York. What the fuck are you talking about? We just don't enforce that because states have free travel between the... Wild.
Place anywhere in the world that looks like that. It's so
States on Greenland.
And then if you add Greenland, that's even. That's pretty good.
It's gonna look beautiful.
Okay.
That Greenland, I found out from NPR that Greenland thing actually is more probable than I would have initially assumed. It's still insane, and Greenland might fuck up and do a deal. But apparently, Greenland would not be Greenland does not want to be a state. Greenland would potentially be interested, though, in having a free association with the United States for military protection, because Greenland would really like to break away from Denmark, apparently, because Denmark's kind of super racist to them and their Inuit population. But it's still pretty wild that Trump is considering taking Greenland. And the fact that he didn't rule out military force, weird.
I'm going to look at this. I'm going to make a decision. Do you want to hear what my decision is? Okay. What's your best of these cars? What do you think?
Well, the car that I drive is the Model S Plaid.
Which is that one?
That red one in the middle.
I like that. Yeah. I like that.
It's
literally turns back into a car commercial.
It's 0 to 60 miles an hour in 2 seconds. So faster than a Ferrari.
That's pretty fast. I don't know if my people can handle it. They're gonna be using it more. I'm not allowed to use it.
That's fast.
That's a fast one.
Just to be clear,
that's
for
beautiful.
the 50%, is that going to go into effect on Canada or no?
Which one?
The 50% tariffs?
I'll let you know about it. Yeah,
okay.
I'll let you know. But I appreciated his call. I thought it was nice. This is beautiful.
He has not ruled it out yet.
Beautiful. Whoa! Should I get in?
Get it.
Okay. Let me get in this sucker.
On the Tesla?
Do you want my notes?
Yeah.
They gave me notes. I said, I'm not Biden. I don't need notes.
Donald Trump needs notes. Donald Trump should consider notes. He would be a more honest man with notes.
Thank you. Let me get into this sector. I'll watch Secret Service go crazy. Thank you.
I mean, if you actually drove it around, it would really be wild.
Beautiful. Wow.
I get into this other side.
That's beautiful. This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer. That's beautiful. Wow.
This is what I'm talking about. He's never been in a car. people. He's never been in the driver's seat of a car.
Yeah, it's just a brake and an accelerator.
He's explaining to him where the brake and accelerator are.
You give Secret Service a lot of time.
That's beautiful.
Can you start it?
Should I? I'll start the engine.
Oh, it's gonna get around the hole.
In fairness, if Trump ever was in a car before, it was definitely turned on with a key. So I'm not surprised. So I'm less surprised that Elon has to explain how to turn the car on.
So, do you want to actually drive a car?
You don't want me to drive it, do you?
Oh, they had some video problems there that froze up. You can tell it's
Very simple.
It's very simple. So it's literally like a golf cart that goes really fast. There's no gears.
This is really amazing. Let's take a look at
Mr. President, you gonna get it wrapped in gold?
Think Biden could get into that car? I don't know. No, that's beautiful.
like what? Why do we even care about Biden anymore? Biden is done. Like literally, Biden is done. He's gonna retire. Like Biden, like no one goes back into politics after being the president. Like you literally, as soon as you stop being president, you almost never maintain any sort of relevance. I mean, Obama has some relevance, but that's because Obama was very popular and also, I don't know, he just got that young energy. He just seemed like he's in good shape. Every other president come out there looking like they're about to die. Although, in fairness, Obama's hair did turn gray.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Mr. President talks about some of the violence that's been going on around the country at dealerships. Some say they should be labeled domestic terrorists.
I will do that. I'll do it. I'm going to stop them. We catch anybody doing it because they're harming a great American company. You know, I've stuck up for the NFL. I've stuck up for a lot of American.
He's also shit on the NFL.
Companies and other companies, but American companies. I did a very big favor for the NFL. I do favors for all. When you heard an American company, especially a company like this, supplies so many jobs.
Speaking of waste, fraud, and abuse, you know, it cost $20 billion for the president to go to the Super Bowl. Yeah, that was your money.
That others are unable to do. When you do that, those people are going to go through a big problem when we catch them. And we have you got a lot of cameras up. We already know who some of them are. We're going to catch them. And they're bad guys. They're the same guys that screw around with our...
Honestly, I don't know if any of this is true or if this is just what he thinks is best thing to say.
Our schools and universities, the same garbage. And no, we're going to catch them. And let me tell you, you do it to Tesla and you do it to any company, we're going to catch you and you're going to go through hell.
Mr. President, what do you tell CEOs tonight at the Business Roundtable, especially with the
Well, I have a roundtable to make it a little while. I just consider this much more important because I want to buy one of these.
I don't care about his business roundtable.
My whole staff is so excited because I told them they're going to safely use them, and they can't believe it. So Margot, wherever you are, Margot, she's going to use it. They're all going to be using it, and they're going to have a good time using it. And if I can, oh, there you are, Margot. Look at Margot's right there. What are you, a member of the press now? I think she's become a member of the press. Takes great pictures. What do you think of it, Margot? Do you like the idea?
I love it.
Okay, good.
We're going to have fun.
They're very happy.
Mr. President, your comments the other day not ruling out a potential recession seemed to rattle the stock markets. The Commerce Secretary said there wouldn't be one.
Boom. Just so you know.
Just specifically on the recession.
Yeah.
Do you think there will be a recession?
I don't see it at all. I think this country is going to boom. But as I said, I can do it the easy way or the hard way. The hard way to do it is exactly what I'm doing, but the results are going to be 20 times greater.
Mr. President, you asked...
And remember, Trump is always right. Right?
And what do you...
That was pure word salad. That was the definition of a word salad. Okay, so like, I don't know if I need to explain this, but like, when people are talking, using their voices to articulate, the goal is to convey information, to convey what you mean, what you intend to happen, to convey actual content of information. Donald Trump does not do that. Donald Trump talks in a manner where he makes you think he has said something, but it actually kind of just sounded good. But like if you actually break down his sentences, they lack substance.
What do you say to Americans?
If you look at what I've said over the last 10 years, Trump has been right all the time. This is the
highly unlikely. That would require him to A, tell the truth, and B, say something that made a definitive claim.
This is the way to do it. We're going to make America great again. You know, to make it great, you have to have jobs, you have to have factories, you have to have... I look at some of the things that, like this last administration, he was the worst president in the history of our country.
Wild statement. We've had way worse presidents than Joe Biden. Joe Biden actually surprisingly above average for a super, super old white guy. Got a lot done. Trump isn't going to acknowledge that because he doesn't want to. He will never say anything nice about Biden.
Nothing was happening. Nothing. He had no...
The real question is that now that Biden is gone, who will become Trump's new major punching bag? Because, like I said, he's got to attack.
Idea what was going on. Our country went to hell. And then to allow millions of people to come in that are prisoners and
we were having the most successful recovery of any of the G7 countries, actually.
Mental institution, patients, and all of the things that...
I know it still sucked, but recovery is not the same thing as being healthy.
Gang members, drug lords, we're searching them all down now, trying to get them out of our country. And we're going to do that. But on the financial end and the economic end, what we're doing is, to me, it's the most exciting. Our country will be greater than ever before, and it won't take too long.
And what's your message to Americans right now, sir, who are worried about the stock market? What's your message to them as they watch it?
We were saying the Cybertruck was... Have you been?
Let's go see the Cybertruck. I did buy one of these.
Elon, hold on, Trump. Let's go. We could look at my cars a little bit more. I need more free publicity. Please come look at more cars. See, we didn't look at the Cybertruck. The Cybertruck really needs help. The Cybertruck is doing really bad. Really bad. Come look at Cybertruck.
This is bulletproof.
I mean, look, in terms of imagination, I think I have...
Meaningless when you can literally strip that paneling behind Elon's head off with your bare hands.
A great imagination. Who else but this guy would design this, and everybody on the road is looking at it. It's amazing, actually. As soon as I saw it, I said, that is the coolest design. It's. Do you agree with that, Brian? I mean,
I do.
It looks like someone took all the textures out of my Ridge Racer 64 game.
It's amazing.
It's very cool.
Yeah.
You got to give him credit.
We want the future to look like the future, and it's kind of what kind of truck would Blade Runner drive? That was the design idea.
Blade Runner's not a person. Blade Runner is a career path in the series Blade Runner, based on the book Do Androids Dream of Electronic Sheep? Elon Musk doesn't even understand cyberpunk at all. Of course, to be fair, if he did understand cyberpunk, he would understand that cyberpunk is mostly warning the world about people like Elon Musk.
It's really amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, Elon, are you planning to remain CEO of Tesla while working with President Trump? Is there any thinking on your future at the company? As we're talking about Tesla, I'm wondering where your thinking is with leading the company going forward.
Yeah, I'm CEO of Tesla, and
We should.
yeah.
Any more plans of additional vehicles besides the ones you have now?
Well,
New models?
The Cybercab coming out next year.
The one with no steering wheel. You're gonna buy one of those?
No, sir, I will not.
We'll pay.
Self-driving car. Let's see how bad a disaster it is. Or does it succeed? It's designed by Tesla, so it will probably fail.
Yes. We're too old-fashioned.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Mr. President, when you look at the market selling off, that didn't concern you, and
Nope,
where do you see it
doesn't
going?
concern me. I think some people are going to make great deals by buying stocks and bonds and all the things they're buying. I think we're going to have an economy that's a real economy, not a fake economy. It was a fake economy. They were putting in...
That's not a thing. That's not how economies work. Even an inflated economy with quantitative easing is not a fake economy, because an economy is about the basic transference of goods and services and the exchange of currencies. There's no such thing as a fake economy. It's not how it works.
In all government jobs. You see what happened last month? We had more real jobs, and government jobs are way down. That's going to continue.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Government jobs are real jobs. Government jobs are real jobs. The government is literally made of jobs. This is the insane thing the conservatives have done is they've made you think that there's a difference between government jobs and private sector jobs. Now, there are some differences and technical differences between those. But the idea that government jobs are not jobs is absolutely insane. That's just literally blatant corporatism trying to make a power grab for your brain.
Those are real jobs. Those are jobs that keep the country going. You can't have all government jobs. You have no income.
Saudi Arabia has 85% employment through the government. Literally 85% of the people who are employed in Saudi Arabia work in the government. What he is saying is not even true. They're one of the richest countries in the world.
To pay the workers.
Yeah.
And a lot of those workers didn't show up to work. That was the other problem.
And President Trump, there's this protest leader from Columbia University that the administration is moving to deport. And he said that
here it comes.
His arrest is going to be the first of many. How many?
I think we ought to get them all out of the country. They're troublemakers. They're agitators. They don't love our country. We ought to get him the hell out. I think that guy, we ought to get him. I heard his statements, too. They were plenty bad. And I think we ought to get him the hell out of the country.
I don't even know if that's true. Because the statement, I heard his statements, they were plenty bad, is a statement you can make and have no idea what you're talking about.
I watched him. I watched tapes. Specifically, I watched tapes. And you can have them, okay? You can have them. And you can have the rest of them. Let him. So the problem here is, of course, is that we're talking about an absurd violation of freedom of speech. The idea that we can deport someone for speaking out politically, even if it's politically statements that we don't like, is like a blatant violation of the First Amendment. We don't deport Nazis. So the fact that we're deporting this kid indicates that this is absolutely a violation of free speech. It's bad. This is bad. This is a red flag. This is a red flag. Deporting people for their political... It's irrelevant whether or not you like or agree or disagree with those political opinions, by the way. It's irrelevant to the point. Let them go to school, let them learn. Columbia used to be a good school. Now it's been overrun because of bad leadership. That's what happens. Happens to countries, and it happens to universities, and it happens to companies. And I don't want it to happen to a guy that did nothing wrong. He did everything right because he did a great company. But what he did by coming into government to help government from years of abuse, from decades of abuse, and you see that when you look at Social Security, where you have 200-year-old people on the rolls of... That's just, he uses the word care. People don't care. Everyone knows that. But it's also, I believe it's also large fraud. I think it's that. But I think it's also large fraud. So I'm just telling people, this man is a great patriot, and you should cherish him. You should cherish him. You know, I have a little statement. We have to take care of our high IQ people because we don't have too many of them.
Always the salesman. This is all just propaganda for his buddy Elon Musk, because he needs Elon Musk to succeed for himself to succeed now. So he'll say whatever he can.
Mr. President, and we got to take care of them.
As you guys look at the Social Security Administration and you guys are looking for fraud and waste and abuse, can you guarantee people who are concerned about an interruption to benefits that there will not be?
Yes, we're going to be very careful with any interruption to benefits. In fact, only by tackling the waste and fraud in entitlements like Social Security, Medicare, can we actually preserve those programs for the future. Because with unchecked fraud and waste, we won't be able to afford them. The president's very dedicated to solving the budget deficit.
Anything to avoid raising the cap on Social Security. Anything to avoid that.
Which, if we don't solve the budget deficit, we're going to go bankrupt as a country. If we go bankrupt as a country, there's no Social Security, there's no Medicare, there's no nothing. And to sort of echo what the president was saying, what really matters is moving people from jobs that are...
That's scary, but it's actually a lot harder for a government to go bankrupt than people think. It's way easier for a company to go bankrupt than a government. That's I'm not saying it couldn't happen. I'm just saying that they're deliberately trying to scare you.
Relatively low productivity and government.
Also, like the way Social Security is funded, that wouldn't be the thing that would go wrong with Social Security. Social Security would just continuously decrease the benefit amount because of the way that Social Security works. It can never technically just, like, that would mean there was something wrong with our worker population for Social Security to actually just up and vanish.
Government to high productivity in the private sector, increasing the true output of products and services. That's the real economy. That's what actually enables Americans to have a higher standard of living.
Why is everybody still wasting their time trying to learn how to skip ads? Just download Pi and move on. This Chrome extension takes 5 seconds to set up and it blocks ads on any website.
And that's what's happening. And that's, I think, you'll see the truth of that in the months to come.
And we're going to make it really much stronger by taking people that don't exist or taking people that shouldn't be there out, by taking illegal aliens that are on Social Security or Medicaid and Medicaid.
The thing is that somebody's cashing that check because they would notice if no one was cashing the check. I'm just saying, they would notice that.
By taking them out, we're making it much stronger. The country will be much stronger, but it's going to really be stronger economically. And when you look at what we're doing, I've been called by so many companies. Yesterday, as you know, I had a meeting with some of the biggest tech companies in the world. And all they're talking about, IBM was there. We had a lot of them. Michael Dell was there. We had a lot of great companies, Hewlett-Packard. And all they're talking about is investing in this country. They want to be sure, don't forget, they're looking down the road 10 years and 15 years. They want to make sure we have a strong country. They're all coming in. As you know, Apple, Tim Cook, he said that he's going to invest $500 billion in the United States. He never did that before. He invested in China. He's got his plants in China. And now
it is worth noting that Apple has said these types of things before and not followed through on them. Just saying. Apple is got a bit of a reputation for it. So we'll see if any of that actually goes through.
Now he's got him going to be building in the United States. And if I didn't have victory in that election, he wouldn't be doing it. And if I didn't say what I'm saying, and I'm being very honest, and it's much more difficult than just sitting around and having a great time. It's a very glamorous position if you want to do that. We could have kept it, but eventually bad things would have happened. This way, good things. I'm very optimistic about the country. I think we're going to have the greatest markets we've ever had, and it's going to be really fueled by...
Highly unlikely, considering that he's taking actions that will basically shrink our economy, reducing the number of people demanding goods and supplies. Like he's deporting potential consumers. He's giving tax cuts to the top percentage of the population while bringing in the tariffs that will simultaneously bring down the amount of imports, and the reverse, and the people putting tariffs on us will bring down the amount of consumer demand from foreign countries, while at the same time they're gutting the government of various benefits and soft power programs. We're gonna have it, and then we're also firing a bunch of people who work in the government sector. Our economy's fucked, people. We are economically fucked. All of these things are happening at once. It's like they're stress testing the economy in a really fucked up way. If the economy just flatlines at some point, it's because they over stress tested it.
What we're doing. You had to see these companies yesterday. They're investing billions and trillions. They're investing trillions of dollars here. They wouldn't have invested 10.
Knowing Donald Trump's use of numbers, these are probably exaggerations. Not all of those companies are worth trillions of dollars. Some of them are only worth billions.
Sense.
Mr. President, will you talk to Vladimir Putin about this ceasefire deal? Do you think you need to have a conversation with him to get the Russians to agree?
I'll talk to Vladimir Putin, yeah.
When will
I
you
want to
talk
get,
to him?
look, that's the other, it takes two to tango, as they say, right? So hopefully he'll also agree, and I really think that would be 75% of the way. The rest is getting it documented and, negotiating land positions, etc.
So you'll talk to him this week?
Negotiating land positions, essentially saying, yes, we're going to make them give Russia some land.
about the
think
deal?
so, yeah.
So
And when do you
have the
anticipate meeting him in
ceasefire
person?
on the Ukrainian side, how close do you think then you are to a total ceasefire with
Well, I hope it'll be over the next few days. I'd like to see. I know we have a big meeting with Russia tomorrow, and so
I'm not recording this in real time, so they may have already had this meeting. We'll see what happens. If anything happens, it may happen before this video even goes up. If nothing happens, he's probably full of shit.
great conversations hopefully will ensue. The people have done a great job. Marco Rubio's been great. Steve Witkoff's been great. Michael Waltz. They're all, every one of them, they've really stepped up. They are into it. They want to see two things. By far, number one is death of people that aren't citizens of our country, but they're people, just like you. They're people, and we want.
Wait, what? What did he just say?
Great, Michael Waltz. They're all, every one of them, they've really stepped up. They are into it. They want to see two things. By far, number one is death of people that aren't citizens of our country, but they're people, just like you. They're people, and we want to stop. And we also don't want to give billions and hundreds of billions of dollars away. We're in there for $350 billion.
Wait.
And there was
no. Who's he saying wants to see death? Who? What? What the fuck is he talking about?
Steve Witkoff's been great. Michael Waltz. They're all, every one of them, they've really stepped up. They are into it. They want to see two things. By far, number one is death of people that aren't citizens of our country, but they're people, just like you. They're people, and we want to stop. And we also don't want to give billions and hundreds of billions of dollars away.
Okay, I'm like 80% certain that he is misspeaking. But like, if you analyze what he just said, he said that the people who are working on the ceasefire want to see death. That's literal. He is word salading people.
We're in there for $350 billion. And there was no reason this war would have never happened if I was president. So it's a very sad thing.
I hate that argument. This war would never have happened if I was president. That's fucking bullshit. Like, you can't make that statement. That is an empty statement. It means nothing. It means nothing.
Thank you all very much. I love Tesla.
Which one did you buy?
Yeah. Wait, Mr. President.
I will agree. That's a better name for them. Tesla. As in they're testing out slurs.
Mr. President, which car are you going to buy?
The one I like is that one.
And how does this work?
And I want that same color.
Are you going to put down a credit card? Elon, would you take a personal check from the president?
I do it the old I give checks. Sure. I like checks.
I think his credit's good.
Do you still have access?
I like a check better than.
His credit is probably not good. He had 13 bankruptcies.
This modern system of all of a sudden there's money in your account, yeah. Nobody knows. I like signing a check. You sort of, but we're gonna pay, and I don't want a discount. He would give me a discount, but if I do a discount, they're gonna say, "Oh, he got benefits." I don't want any discount.
What about a vanity plate?
Yeah, let's see. Truth.
All right, there it is.
T-R-U-T-H.
He download his playlist.
That one got you by surprise.
Playlist gets downloaded as well. You can thump your music driving around.
You can do it. I just looked at it. I looked at that dashboard. You can do it.
It's 30 minutes of playlist. I have a longer music playlist, and I barely listen to music.
Mr. President, do you think you buying a Tesla will boost Tesla sales and boost their stock?
It does. Look.
Was that your goal?
I care about one thing. When somebody's
our reporters, ladies and gentlemen. No shit, that's the point. Like, what the fuck else is happening here? It's a press conference where he buys a fucking car. That's an ad.
Great patriot. They shouldn't be heard.
But you know what? Thank you for
He's
calling.
A great patriot.
But you know what? Thank you for calling that out. Even though it's stupid.
Good. He didn't know me from Adam until we met a little bit when I was in my first term, but he came out, he endorsed me very strongly. And I admired that and respected that. And I respected him for years. I respected him. And when there was a chance to help our government, you're not going to use an average person. Some people would say, well, let's use somebody that failed in business for his whole life. This guy has been amazing.
Like you, Trump? Huh? Like you? Like the time you tried to buy too many casinos too fast?
Amazing. And the kind of thinking is from a different age. It's really from a different age. When we said...
Who wants to guess what age Elon's thinking is from? You know?
Let's cut 2%. He said, let's cut 60%. And he turned out to be right. And a lot of people are just not here. They don't work for us. I mean, they're getting checks and they don't work. And you know, Peter, look, we have so many different stats and so many different figures. And it's so embarrassing to us as a country. No, we're going to have a streamlined country with good people. And one of the reasons, and I called for it wasn't a cabinet meeting, it was just a meeting of some cabinet members and Elon. The one thing, and I think he agrees with me 100%, it's one thing to cut, but we want to cut the wrong people, meaning we want to cut people that aren't doing the job. We want to keep the right people.
Absolutely.
And I said, I don't want to just say we're going to cut 50%. I want to cut the people that aren't doing the job.
His language is dumb. Although, in fairness to him, he's at least smart enough to understand that setting a flat number like 50% is dumb. Someone probably told him that, and he probably repeating it as if it's his own realization.
People that aren't there, the people that are scamming the system, and he agrees with that 100%.
And are you sure you don't want to take a test drive?
I'd love to do it. Maybe I'll do it some other time.
Do you want Elon to keep working with you throughout your first term? I mean, is there going to be an end
Donald Trump does not know how to drive.
Date for the two of you working together?
I don't know. You know, I was thinking about that the other day. I think he'll know when it's time.
Okay.
Well, he doesn't want to stay around.
He has up to 130
although
days,
I think he does like it. There's no place like the White House.
Elon,
Okay, so maybe.
Would you want to stay?
I don't think that. I think he wants to get the job done, get back to his businesses. That's what I think.
I just want to. I'll stay as long as it's useful and productive, and if I can help the country, I'll stay and do so.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, President Trump.
Thank you, President Trump.
Good-looking guy.
Elon. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
All right, just listening in there is President Trump buying a Tesla alongside Elon Musk. You see the Cybertruck, the red Tesla.
Holy shit. Wow. Okay, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but that was fucking painful. Guys, this is idiocracy. Idiocracy is literally happening. Like these are the signs. This is the shit right here. We are so fucked. We need to start looking at education as the backbone of this country, because it is very apparent that we fucked up by not making education the backbone of this fucking country. We fucked up. We have let education get weak, and we've let the populace get stupid, because fucking morons in power are like, hey, stupid populace is easier to control. Except they're fucking not. You need a certain amount of intelligence to herd an animal. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. They can't be so dumb they don't know where they are. But the fact that Donald Trump can get away with the type of rhetoric that he uses is profoundly unsettling. And he said so much stupid shit in there. And yet no one's like, well, Donald Trump seems to show signs of cognitive decline. Because that thing about death was cognitively declined as fuck, people. It was like he literally said a sentence that had the opposite meaning of what he intended. That's what happened. Because there's no way that that's how that sentence was supposed to go. Did you hear that shit? Unless it's a Freudian slip. Because he's gearing up for World War III. Hell, maybe actually that would explain why North Korea increased their testing of nuclear weapons and ballistic missile testing after meeting with Trump. Because Trump showed up and he's like, hey, me and Vlad are getting together. We're going to have a party. Bring all the bombs you can. That is, of course, pure speculation. I have to stress that is pure speculation. My God, this fucking time to be alive. The President of the United States just did a fucking car commercial on the fucking White House lawn with the worst person on the internet. This is absurd. Thank you for tuning in. I hope I haven't alarmed you too much, but please like, subscribe, comment, leave a message. Oh wait, no, that is commenting. I'm sorry, I'm tired. That ad killed some of my brain cells. I may have brain damage from that ad, because that's what it was. Our country is fucked, y'all. Thank you for tuning in. You can email the program at rubenuncut@gmail.com. Have a wonderful whatever, wherever, whoever you are.